When I started this thought process in my head, 6 vehicles was the number that I think is ideal. Welcome back to the Lost Cause Ranch. Now today's video was supposed to be on the Treyback LR4. Yes, the LR4 we cut in half. Well, such as life, things happened. I was sick for the first part of the week, so we just didn't get quite enough done on that. But don't worry, we have made some solid progress on the LR4, and next week's video is definitely going to be worth the wait. I mean, just look at it. We're using all the tools to give it that proper ute look and usability. So next week, I promise, LR4 truck. So instead, I want to talk about something that has just been eating at me for quite some time. Yes, how many vehicles should a person own? The correct number is probably less than I currently own, but I've been listening to Brian Scotto's Very Vehicular podcast quite a bit lately, and every episode he talks about having to pare down his collection. He is much like myself, or I am much like him, in the fact that he has a ton of vehicles and a ton that don't work. I mean, my percentage of non-working Land Rovers is pretty high, but come to think about it, the overall percentage of non-working Land Rovers is probably pretty high. But either way, for the last 5 years or so, I've sat between 15 and 25 Land Rovers in my possession, which when you can only drive one at a time, it's probably too many. Now, this is kind of a funny issue that is a more recent problem. A lot of you who have been watching the channel for a long time know that I used to own a dealership with my brother. We did all European stuff. That is how I got into Land Rovers. And owning a dealership, we sold a lot of vehicles. So I had no problem letting anything go. But since we sold that property and I'm now just a full-time Land Rover tinkerer, I can't seem to let anything go, and that has created quite an issue in my life. All my stuff is projects, all my stuff needs to be worked on, and every time I go to work on something, I have to freaking rearrange everything just to create enough space. See how well this works once we hit the grate. So I really need to sit down and think about what is the correct number of vehicles for me to own. I also want your input on this because an outside perspective is much needed. I'm kind of jaded with everything around me. And like I said, I feel like I need it all. And that's it. It's a problem, a legit problem. So I need to kind of evaluate the collection and decide what is necessary and what isn't. What is a forever keeper and what is just here for a short time. And the one that will never leave is the Eco. I joke around and say that the Freelander is the best Land Rover ever. Actually, any Land Rover that I'm currently talking about is the one I say is the best Land Rover ever. But the Eco is truly my favorite one. This is the vehicle that is so dependable and is ready in a moment's notice to do whatever I want. This thing is pretty much always ready to go, or it's typically never more than a day's worth of work away from that status. It just works. It's stupid simple, and now has a Callaway V8 in it. This one, we're never gonna get rid of. Another one I can't see myself getting rid of is the 109 Nada. This is one of 811 North American dollar area 109s brought over in 1967. It is just such a cool rig. I have many delusions of grandeur for it. No matter what direction we finally go with it, it's just gonna be a cool rig to have. Then we have the mighty Freelander. The 3-door Freelanders are quite possibly the most comically cool Land Rovers ever made, and they really don't have a ton of value. So this is another one I just don't see myself getting rid of. There's just not a monetary gain to getting rid of it. And on top of that, I don't think I could sell it and subject anyone else to the punishment it puts out. It's fun to own in the Type 2 fun kind of way. And if you don't know what Type 2 fun is, Type 2 fun is experiences that are terrible in the moment, very challenging, hard. But when you look back, it gives you a smile and the memory is so enjoyable. Type 2 fun would be like my 100-mile ultramarathon race. Running 100 miles through the woods is kind of fun, but when you get to like mile 80, it's not that fun. But then when you're done and a week later you look back at it, it was really fun. And then you sign up to do it again and it sucks again. Or maybe that's just me. That also might be just a look into why my life is the mess it is. I think things like that are fun. But back to the vehicles. The other vehicle that I just don't think I can bring myself to get rid of is the lightweight. With what the lightweight is gonna be, there's just not anything to replace it. Early inboard headlight lightweights are pretty rare to begin with, and then on top of being in the US, it's quite a rare vehicle. I just don't wanna give up and down the road have to chase another one down in case I regret it. So that's 4. That is 4 that are kind of non-negotiable. The next 2 are non-negotiable spots, but not necessarily vehicles. I'll never not have an LR4. We obviously have the Treyback and Merlin. I can see myself honestly selling both of those. Well, Merlin has a home designated, and the Treyback LR4 I could see moving down the road, but it would instantly be replaced with another LR4. So a spot will be held by an LR4. They are the most useful Land Rovers ever made, in my opinion. Number 2 non-negotiable spot would be the 405 Range Rover. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 405 Range Rover, but I want something like that as the tow vehicle and the daily driver. And I see that rotating out quite often as well, maybe a year or 2. So that is 6 vehicles, which when I started this thought process in my head, 6 vehicles was the number that I think is ideal. Gives us a rock crawl toy, a little off-road toy, the daily driver, fun cruiser, the workhorse. Then there's this. How on earth would you give up the 6x6? Well, you don't. So that makes 7. Then there's the Range Rover camper. Once again, how do you get rid of something like this? And this is exactly why I'm in the predicament I'm in. And I just can't seem to get down to the 6 vehicles that I think is the perfect amount of vehicles. Because we also run across stuff like this. This is a left-hand drive X-Mod 110. Not that special, but it is a US titled, pretty much rust-free 110 Defender. And I found it 2.5 hours from home, which when you're in Iowa, that's not the easiest thing to do. So this is tough to get rid of. Although that I can see going away. The other thing I can see going away is the 944. I really have no want for that anymore. And then we have things like this D1, kind of what I would consider the perfect trail rig. It has some damage, but nothing terrible, and it is rust free. So my ideas on this is just building out like another simple rig that mimics the Eco setup, and it would essentially be a loaner D1. Someone comes to town and needs something fun to play around with, they could hop in this thing. So to add to our keep, that is 7, 8, 9. And the next dilemma is I also think a guy should have a D2 in the fleet, especially something like this, our Kalahari. I could see this one rotate out as well, but that puts us at 10. So kind of working through this, that puts the ideal number of vehicles Joe should own at 10, which I think is a doable number. Maybe we should call it 10 plus 1. And that 1 would be the additional rotating interesting thing we run across, because I know you guys probably enjoy it as much as I do when we find something interesting and we go pick it up. We have some other things around here like the LS3 Defender. I can honestly see myself getting rid of that once it's done and we experience it for a little bit. That I think is neat, but experience-wise, I think that is kind of an overlap with a lot of what we'll have around here. And on top of that, that's kind of a high-ticket item. That'll be a high-dollar one and tying up a fair amount of funds. So I'm thinking 10 plus 1. I want to know what you guys think for my scenario. How many vehicles should I own? Is 10 too many? 10's probably too many. I honestly think it'd be tough to get below that, which is such a disturbing thing to say. I say that realizing that I'm in a very fortunate position. I know a lot of you guys would probably love to have 1, 2, 3 vehicles at any given time, and I'm saying I need to get down to 10. That's such a ridiculous thing. But it all really currently comes down to space and work. It's just not feasible to have as many vehicles as I have. It's becoming a bit of a headache. I could temporarily solve that problem by buying a bigger building, but I need to fix the problem with me buying too many things, because I'd probably just fill a bigger building. But speaking of a bigger building, even if we were able to knock down to 10 vehicles, we need more room. I've been mulling around a couple different options on that front, and I've been thinking about maybe purchasing another cheaper storage only building close to here. That way we can stuff 4, 5, 6 Rovers inside somewhere else, off-site, the ones that we're not currently working on, and then either just drive or trailer them over whenever we need them. But I'm really starting to think that the next option is probably the correct move. The other idea is adding on to the back of the car wash. Now this is a view you guys don't get to see on the channel too often, but it's just kind of a dumping ground storage area back here. We got the Kalahari, the green D2. Otherwise, it's just kind of junk back here. Like I said, just kind of junk back here. No, this was something I had in mind when we purchased the car wash. The zoning on this property allows us to build right up to the property line. I should probably check that, but I think we can build up to the property line all the way around, which is quite beneficial. So we're gonna lay an idea out, and funny enough, this roll is the same roll I used to lay out the shop at the ranch. We have some landmarks here. A Discovery water pump. We'll tie off that all the way to a camshaft, and from that camshaft we'll go to the Mini Cooper wheel. So there, that is 24 feet wide, 44 feet deep. That puts us with a wall roughly to the center of the 2 doors, because I kind of like having a drive-through bay, even though that drive-through bay is quite plugged up. But that's what this little thought exercise is trying to accomplish. I really think to be efficient inside the main car wash working on it, we can only have like probably three vehicles inside there. Ideally 2 on the workshop side, maybe 1 on the machine shop side. Which brings us to this. We need more inside storage. Now you see 2 Discoveries fit inside this very well, and we have room behind them and plenty of room in front of them. So we could fit at least 4, probably more in here, which would free up a lot of room and get some of the good ones back under roof. See, that's my problem. The more that we're gonna finish out this year, the more that need to be inside. I don't wanna go through all the work of making the lightweight such a cool rig and set it outside, which it can't sit outside. I mean, it could, but it shouldn't sit outside because it's probably not gonna have an actual roof. And then the Treyback LR4, once that's all painted, it'd be nice to store that inside when it's not getting used. So we're just gonna run out of room. And on top of that, in the last couple months, there's been more and more customer stuff in here too. So I guess I'm just at a bit of a dilemma here. Do we get rid of vehicles or do we add more space? I mean, who am I kidding? Obviously the answer is more space. But in the next couple weeks, we got some guys coming out to look at the feasibility of adding on to the back. My biggest worry is our gas meter would have to be moved. Anything's possible, it just costs money. And if we were to add on, I'm kind of bouncing around onto what way we'd go about it. Do I just have someone do the foundation and then have us build it out again? I had a blast building the shop at the ranch, and now I'm an experienced shop builder. So it'd be a lot of fun. Or do we just pay someone, because we got plenty of stuff to do? Time is valuable, but I'm also pretty good at wasting time. But with that being said, what do you guys think is the correct number of vehicles? Now that is a thing that is different for every person, but I want to hear how many vehicles you think you would like to own down below. Just remember, the more you own, the more they own you. But like I said earlier, we are knocking away on the LR4, and I was really truly planning on having this be this video, but you'll just have to wait a week, and it is well worth it, because we're really getting to the part that pulls the entire appearance of that project together. But with that said, I appreciate you guys watching, appreciate you subscribing, and we will catch you next week. Get back here. Come on, Sash. Go back inside, you got it. You scared it away, good job.